Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a couple of minutes ago. Reuters, Republicans want Hunter, Representative Adam Schiff, and the intelligence operative to testify on impeachment. They also want President or Vice President Biden. President Trump has stated numerous times, we want a full Senate trial. You're going to accuse us of a criminal act. We want a full Senate trial. Now, the White House is not cooperating with impeachment, which is hilarious. Which is absolutely hilarious. Now, Bill Clinton cooperated somewhat, and then he got caught. What is he committed perjury, and he did so because there was an actual act that I can't even talk about on this channel on YouTube. Maybe I can get into it on H.A. Goodman's other channel. Check out that channel right now. It's a great segment on Howard Stern and Madam Secretary. But, you know, the interesting thing is, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at what's taking place, there needs to be testimony from Vice President Biden. Why? Because the basis of impeachment is that President Trump had no reason to believe conflicts of interests existed. I explained in my last segment that Marie Yovanovitch, ambassador, confirmed during President Obama's administration, was given talking points regarding Hunter Biden. Even President Obama's administration knew that there were conflicts of interest. Okay, they knew this. And so that undermines everything. The issue also is that Burisma is currently engaged in the subject of a widespread criminal probe in the Ukraine. The issue also is that Biden is on video bragging about forcing another country, the Ukraine. So he's getting into their politics. Why is it so horrible? Like they say, like, oh, foreign interference. Well, we're interfering in their politics, but okay, that's a whole other story. He's on video bragging about forcing another country to let go of a prosecutor that happened to be investigating the corporation that was paying his son, by one estimate, $50,000 a month. Now we have, because of a court case that Biden is engaged in, his tax returns for 3 years are going to be released because he has to, that was a paternity case, okay? So, that, and I talk about that on H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's in the New York Post, the Epoch Times, all of these publications. The question is, if there are conflicts of interest, which there are, Democrats and the Washington Post can write that there's no conflicts of interest from now until eternity. We know there are. Biden has to be a witness. He must testify, and he will not. This entire charade is predicated upon Biden's pure as the driven snow, and his son, who's, I mean, with all due respect, a complete train wreck. I mean, you just look at the New York Post, okay? I don't even want to get into it. But if the allegations that were leveled against the vice president's son were also leveled against Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Kushner, you better believe they would gleefully investigate every single allegation. But if it's the former vice president's son, they have a hands-off approach, okay? Let's put it this way. He's accused of spending tens of thousands of dollars in addition to consuming narcotics at a, shall we say, a gentleman's club. And if Donald Trump Jr. was accused of all of that, there would be no end to it. And also, if Donald Trump Jr. if he was working at, or he was on the board of directors of a corporation that was under criminal investigation in the Ukraine, where he was getting $50,000 a year and he didn't have any expertise in that field, and Trump was on tape, on video bragging about how he forced a prosecutor that was actually looking into the company that eventually funneled hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to Trump to his son, you better believe they would be all over it. So the point is, Adam Schiff is going to be called to testify. He won't testify. The whistleblower is going to be called. The intelligence operative. That person won't testify. I don't ever use that name. John Kiriakou, Jeffrey Sterling, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, Assange, all of these people. Daniel Ellsberg, all of these people fit that name. This is an intelligence operative. This is the government wrestling with President Trump. Or I should say remnants of President Obama and Bush's establishment government wrestling with a new American government in Trump's White House. So they're arm wrestling. Trump's winning. This impeachment has been a catastrophe for Democrats, an absolute catastrophe. They never got it in their minds that Watergate was a break-in. Bill Clinton was, oh my goodness, I was talking about ICBMs and I needed a prop. So what I did was, what can I do? I didn't have any paper mache props. And we were talking about treaties, ICBM treaties. And I said, hold on one second. I know I could think of, off the cuff, I could think of what I could use to you know where I'm going. Anyway, listen, the point is there was an actual act that was committed in the Oval Office. So they go after Trump. Well, look, there was a payment there. Okay, you say what you like about it. There was a payment there with Clinton. It was in the Oval Office, and then he lied about it. Then he said, "I didn't have relations with nobody." Why does the good Lord always look down upon me? He must not like my face. There was an act that was committed. Watergate, break-in against the law. Bill Clinton, an act took place in the Oval Office. Okay, dress, everything. Okay. The cover-up was that, this specific incident Nixon didn't want to own up to, and Clinton certainly didn't want to own up to. With Trump, that's not the issue. The issue with Trump is that they're saying, this is how absurd everything is. They're saying that because he was asking another country to look into the potential wrongdoing of the former vice president, who is on record as bragging about having another country fire a prosecutor that just happened to be looking into his son's political the company funneling money to his son, that was trying to rig an election because he was fabricating and making up something that didn't exist. Well, there's evidence that conflicts of interest exist. Trump doesn't need to prove evidence of a crime. He needs to prove evidence that conflicts of interest exist, which could warrant a look into potential corruption. There was no overt quid pro quo in the conversation anyway. President Zelensky he was not leveraged, so that undermines impeachment. The head of the Ukraine has stated there was no problem. Marie Yovanovitch has stated President Obama's administration literally warned or gave talking points about Hunter Biden's conflicts of interest. So you have all of this undermining the impeachment theme. Biden must testify. He will never testify. Adam Schiff will never testify. The intelligence operative will never testify. So what you're going to see eventually is Clinton swoop in, maybe from that jetpack in Super Bowl II or Super Bowl I. And that's one of the ways she could enter. It's either she'll enter immediately after, or right after, or a month after. Who knows? But this is not good for Biden's This is the end of Biden's 2020 campaign. You cannot run on saying I'm going to be different from President Trump. I'm going to be the president that you want. I'm going to do this and that when you are, because the whole thing is, well, Trump, he did nothing wrong. So that's your opportunity to go after Trump. That's your opportunity to defend the honor of your family, of your son, of everything. That's your opportunity as Biden to say, this man, you have no right to look into anything that I've been doing. That's his opportunity. Okay, he ain't going to do it. It's not going to happen. And that's going to completely obliterate the 2020 campaign. It's going to go to a Senate trial. Well, let's put it this way. If it doesn't go to it, look, if they impeach Trump and then they say, we don't want a Senate trial, they look like the biggest imbeciles, even bigger imbeciles than they already look like. Okay, so perhaps there's some kind of congressional or parliamentary type of way to circumvent a Senate trial on the part of Democrats. When they impeach Trump, the next phase is removal. Impeachment is a political, more of a public relations type of thing. They're saying, oh, you did all these wrong things. These are high crimes and misdemeanors. It's not. Even President Zelensky was like, I wasn't leveraged. The Ukraine was not leveraged. President Zelensky speaks for the Ukraine, just like President Trump speaks for the United States of America. Sorry, so did President Obama and Bush prior and every president. And so, to a great extent at least. If anything, Zelensky was on the phone call. So wouldn't you trust President Zelensky to say, hey, yeah, I was leveraged? I mean, is he working for Trump also? You talk about all of these hilarious theories from Democrats. Or like their whole thing is like, oh, well, we're the adults in the room. We're the ones who fact check only when it suits us. Then they say, well, there's no... And then they hide behind the absurd notion that massive security risks and ridiculous conflicts of interest... Like, for example, Snopes are like, well, yeah, it's true that uranium was shipped out of the country, but we don't know if there's no evidence that it was sent to Russia. It's like, well, what do you... You can pretty much assume that it's going to be... that if uranium was shipped out of the country, which it shouldn't have been, under President Obama's administration, when he did not veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity. And the whole rebuttal was, oh, well, it doesn't need to be, it's not a big deal because they can't ship uranium out of the United States anyway. Then that is completely obliterated. And yes, they shipped uranium outside of the United States of America. Then the response was, well, we don't know. We have no evidence it went to Russia. You can assume that the Russians are going to, or Putin in a surreptitious manner, acquire the uranium that was already shipped out of the United States of America. At each level of the story, Democrats are like, well, we have no evidence. It was just a coincidence. It was an accident. It was no big deal. They keep on hiding behind plausible deniability, but at the end of the day, you can't run your life on plausible deniability. Nobody could function in their daily life running on plausible deniability. It doesn't work. And it also, simply saying there are no conflicts of interest when there actually are conflicts of interest, when President Obama's own administration admitted there were conflicts of interest, doesn't protect Biden. So Clinton comes in, it's Clinton 2020, she becomes nominee, like I said she would. They have no intention of winning with anyone else but Clinton, and they have every intention of risking a loss with Clinton if it means just being with Madam Secretary. They would rather lose with Clinton than win with anyone else. They would rather lose with Clinton again in 2020 than win with anyone else, just like they would have rather lost with Clinton than win with Bernie. So, give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. She throws Bernie under the bus again on Howard Stern, and I explain this. So, I mean, you got to understand, this is how they operate. They operate in a manner, they have the media, they have intelligence operatives that are loyal to them, they have Hollywood, they have what they think is popular culture. And that shields them from the reality that they're complete and utter failures at even corruption. They even fail at criminality. Now, Durham and Barr are going to go, they're investigating this beyond the election. Once Clinton loses again, and she will, it will be Trump versus Clinton, round number 2. She will lose again. Everyone on the left is going to be a great many people are going to be like me, talking about indictments, talking about criminal activity related to Madam Secretary. Give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Biden refuses. He will refuse. He's already refused. He will never testify. And that will be the end of his campaign. And then Clinton will eventually find some way to enter and say, hey, don't you want somebody who doesn't testify 50 points ahead? Give me your thoughts. Thank you so very much.